Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Esteemed viewers, welcome to another edition of COVID-19 Daily Update. And today we are discussing the deadly mystery illness that is sweeping the Western world, that is Europe and the US, probably in other part of the world, but we are not sure about that. What we are so is in Europe so far and America. And this mystery illness is confined to kids and also the teenagers. But what is certain though, even though the disease mechanism is not properly understood, just like COVID-19 itself, what is certain though, it is linked to COVID-19 infection. So I'll talk about that, but as usual, we'll start this show with statistic about COVID-19. Today, as you are all aware, this disease started in China, in Wuhan provinces, um, in December 2019, and it looked like these diseases have been with us for ages, but it's only December when we first heard about this mystery illness. Okay, so far, number of people infected with COVID-19 is 4,311,914 people. And out of that, 290,597 dead. Um, so far, we have 1,567 and 141 recoveries. You know, these are people who got the illness and they recovered. So these are the group of people that are going to be very, very important, very essential in our understanding of COVID-19 immunology. When I say immunology, this is the body defense mechanism that I will literally describe as the soldiers of our bodies that confront and eliminate infections we suffer through our life. And they are specific in their mechanisms of action and they work in lock and key mechanisms. Number of active cases currently stands at 2,454,174, and 98% of those currently infected with COVID-19 in mild condition, and that number is 2,470,628. You know, these mild conditions are the people without no symptoms sometimes, and there are other groups with mild symptoms like headache, like fever, and like persistent cough. And in rare situation, there are people with COVID-19 who can't smell anything and they can't taste anything. So this is the worst group. And also, there is a new symptom which indicates um, called COVID-19 toe. This you have a blister on top of your toes, and if you start itching them, scratching them, they will become itchy, and eventually they develop into an open wound. You know, this is a new symptom they are there. You know, but our today's show is about a new condition which is deadly and is killing children. You know, it's very, very worrying. Nobody understands exactly what it is, but what is certain is linked to COVID-19. I'll talk about that after the statistics. Currently, 46,548 people are in critical or serious condition as a result of COVID-19 infections. And when we say serious or critically ill with COVID-19, we mean these are the groups whose lungs are so damaged by the virus to such an extent that they can't even breathe for themselves. So these are the people that will end up in the intensive care beds. And most of them, you know, they can breathe for themselves efficiently to maintain 75 to 100% oxygen pressure in their blood. So that's why the hospital they are fitted with They are fitted with respiratory machines, ventilators, to help them maintain a healthy oxygen supply in their blood, and also to help them with a source of energy, that's the glucose and also water. So right now, I'm going to give you the top 10 most affected countries in the world by their numbers they registered past 24 hours. That is the number of new cases and also the number of new deaths past 24 hours. Currently, 212 countries are affected in the world, and two international conveyances. I mean, that's by either war 6 or, or cruise 6. Past 24 hours, America recorded 9,193 new COVID-19 cases and 760 deaths. Spain recorded 1,377 new cases and 176 deaths. Russia, for over a week now, every day they are recording um, more than 10,000 new cases per day. The only good news about Russia is that the death rate is very small, very minimal. Like past 24 hours, they recorded 107 new cases, new deaths. And UK recorded 3,403 new cases and 627 deaths. UK is also definitely on the downward spiral now. They actually leveled the curve and now they are coming down, which is a very good news. Italy recorded 1,412 new cases and 172 dead. The numbers for France are not yet in. Germany recorded 329 new cases, 32 dead. Brazil now overtake China and Iran. That's significant. They recorded 3,100 new cases and 355 dead. And Turkey recorded 141,475 new cases, no, 1,704 new cases and 53 dead. And Iran recorded 1,400 new cases and 1,000 dead. So that is the statistic for COVID-19 we have now. I'm going to read numbers for countries that are very close to the Gambia, like Senegal. We are surrounded both sides by Senegal. But Gambia also, because of its length in the interior, is very, very close to Guinea-Conakry, is very close to Guinea-Bissau, is very close to Ivory Coast, Mali, Burkina Faso, and all that, and even Sierra Leone. So Senegal recorded so far 1,995 cases, and past 24 hours they recorded 109 cases. Guinea-Conakry, now the highest in our part of the world, they recorded so far 2,203 cases and 67 new cases past 24 hours. Mali so far recorded 712 cases and Sierra Leone 338 cases. Burkina Faso 760 and Gambia 22. What is worrying about the Gambia past 3 days at least for the first time since this outbreak was announced in the Gambia, 3 days in a row at least we registered a case. That's not very promising, right? And Guinea-Bissau right now have 761. Guinea-Bissau also is a big, big concern. The numbers keep going up. So total number of new cases past 24 hours is 59,624. And total number of new deaths is 3,460. These are troubling, troubling numbers. They are not pretty to read. Well, our topic today, as I mentioned, is a mystery illness that is killing children across America and Europe. Yeah, this illness is linked to COVID-19. Why? Because all the sufferers have an immunoglobulin in their system that is specific to COVID-19. So that means um, COVID-19, either they were infected and recovered or they come in contact with somebody who is infected. So, but why, why this illness? This is probably mainly an immunological conditions, and because of difference in our immune systems, people reacted differently to different illnesses. So what the expert, this is just a speculation. Nobody saw what is actually happening here. Yeah, so basically what might be happening is that you encounter COVID-19 and your body mount an immune system, an immune attack against it and eliminate it. But then you come into contact again, your body reacted in such a way that it turns on itself or it turns on other immune components, that cause this serious inflammation. So, what are the symptoms? The symptoms are number one, persistent fever. The fever that doesn't just go away. You take paracetamol or other anti-inflammatory, and the symptoms go down. But all of a sudden, it returns again. So, if you have a child with high fever for a couple of days, 2 3 days, you should call doctors. You should. That's to be on the safe side. And some of them also will develop a swollen lymph. When I say lymph, that is two sides of your groin, and also there are some lymph nodes here, and also on the armpits they have lymph nodes. So these get swollen, and some of them have like a bloody eye. Their eyes are red, and it's a serious sign of inflammation. So this red eye, in fact, some are describing as conjunctivitis, but it's not. It's just that your eye is inflamed. And in most of the time, also one of the vital organs might not be is not functioning properly, like your heart sometimes, like sometimes your kidney, is overwhelmed by this illness that you cannot. Yeah, they cannot function properly. So right now, the disease is called pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome and doesn't show the hallmark of coronavirus in the children who have been diagnosed. You know, it presents similar to Kawasaki. This is a toxic shock syndrome. When I mean toxic shock syndrome, when you are infected with bacteria, bacteria they do generate toxins. So these toxins, your body can overreact towards it and also overwhelm your vital organs and eventually kill you. So it's similar to that. This is even though right now the numbers are very limited, like in New York, I think they reported about 53. That sounds big, but that doesn't sound too much. But if you consider the seriousness of this illness, that is a very, very, very high numbers, and is very, very worrying. And similar numbers are reported in London, in France, in Paris, and also in Germany and Spain. So it's not an isolated. So what are the symptoms of this Kawasaki disease, like inflammatory syndrome that is sweeping through children across the Western world? It produces a high temperature lasting over 5 days. You have kids with temperature that refuse to go down for 5 days, and if that should happen, you should call the doctor. And some also get skin rash. Might be with the colored children, like the black, this rash might not be very prominent, but if they are Caucasian kids, this is reddish rash, all over their skin, and some will develop swollen neck glands, like here. I'm touching this here. This one will swell, and some will get like cracked lips. You see, their lips will be bloody and they start cracking. Exfoliating, and sometimes might even be bloody. And also some will get swelling hands and feet. These are the extremities where the blood cannot easily get. They start swelling and also redness of both eyes. In fact, there are some doctors will describe this as conjunctivitis, but conjunctivitis is either bacterial or viral infections. But this redness of the eye is because of the ruptured blood vessel inside your eye that is causing it. So these are the symptoms. Number one, um, you have high fever. That is the mystery illness that is sweeping across Europe and America as a result of COVID-19 infections. Okay, so that's high fever over 5 days, and rash, skin rash, swollen neck, glands, cracked lips, swelling hands and feet, and also redness in both eyes. So children under 5 years are most commonly affected. Even though we have teenagers who are affected, but it's mainly children with under 5 years old that are affected by this illness. Is it treatable? Yes, it is. They support, if you take the children to hospital, they normally admitted at the intensive care ward, and they are given um, steroids, also anti-inflammatory drugs, and also immunotherapy. Immunotherapy will dampen down the effect of these autoimmune sort of like reactions. So while it can be deadly, it is treatable. Kawasaki is a leading cause of acquired heart disease in the United States, which complicated that include coronary artery enlargement and aneurysm. Aneurysm, I mean that's when the blood is ruptured inside your brain or your vital organs, you know. So, toxic shock syndrome, meanwhile, is caused by a toxin produced by some form of Staphylococcus bacteria and involves fever, shock, and problem with fever body organ. I explained this earlier that these mystery illness resembles toxic cell shock syndrome that is caused by a certain kind of bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus. The difference in symptoms could be attributed to pediatric multi-system inflammatory syndrome being a second phase of coronavirus illness. Like I mentioned earlier, what is common to all these kids is that, if you look in their system, they will have an immune response against coronavirus. That means they were either infected sometime back, or they came in contact with somebody who have coronavirus. And how common, how widespread it is. Still, in terms of numbers, the numbers are very limited. But if you consider how serious this illness is, these are big numbers. Like in New York State Health Department is studying the cases of 85 children. In New York alone, that's a big number. So most of them tested positive for corona or had positive antibody tests. These kids, some are currently infected with COVID-19, but some of them only their system, they're in their blood, so that immune cells, that means they already infected and recovered, either they knowingly or unknowingly, but they've already infected or they come in contact with somebody who is COVID-19 positive, and they develop these antibodies. So, still talking about numbers in America, in Seattle, has reported a case in a healthy teenager who developed shock symptom that sent him to intensive care unit. So it's not only kids, but the teens and the grown-up teens also do suffer from this. So this is not only the issue in the America. Similar kind of illness is reported in London, Paris, and Germany. And with a rare syndrome that could be linked to corona pediatric specialists, cases like these have been reported in Italy, Spain as well, and abdominal pain, which is another symptom. Kids with this illness or immunological illness, do suffer abdominal pain, which is common in toxic shock syndrome as well, and gastrointestinal syndrome and cardiac inflammation. Their hearts looks enlarged, and all that, and are common in doses in cattle. So now, what are the politicians or the officials saying about this illness? It is still very much a situation that is developing. This is a new thing, just like Anthony Fauci warned American politicians that we can't take kids for granted here, because there's a lot of push to allow kids to go back to school, because according to the initial belief is that kids, even if they get infected, they are more unlikely to get ill, or even if they are ill, their symptoms are milder. But then all of a sudden, these diseases come in. So that's what Anthony Fauci is telling American politicians. Yeah, kids might not be that severely affected when they got infection with this COVID-19, but there are a lot of things also we are learning about this virus. For example, he give them the example of this severe inflammatory disease that is sweeping across Europe among children and teenagers. So yeah, so New York Department of Health is communicating with the CDC and federal authorities, and the CDC has asked the state to develop a national criteria, so the health police and know what to do for what to look for. Yeah, it is important because this is new thing and it's already in the news, but there might be other medical facilities, medical practitioners who are not aware of this news. So that's why it is important to sensitize the public, the general medical fraternity about this new disease that is killing kids. So the potential risks for children from at the time of heightened anxiety as coronavirus are still more than 80,000 people in the US alone. And that came because we all believe, okay, we all developed this impression already that young people were not affected by COVID-19. And we are not sure that this is in fact the way. So the notion that kids are less likely to be infected, this new development is debunking that. So this is a situation we have COVID-19. Everybody is worried about, and I think everybody is little bit relaxed as far as it comes to the kids, and even talk of at least allowing some schools to start opening. But then we have this you know, we have this new mystery illness that is killing kids and is directly linked to COVID-19, even though it might not be directly linked to active COVID-19 infection. But what is clear, these children with this severe inflammatory disease reporting to intensive care units or emergencies across Europe and America actually something to do with COVID-19. So as Fauci said, there are a lot of things to be learned about this virus. That's why the Americans have to be very, very, very careful. I know business is bad there are jobs lost, lot of people lost their job. But what the world cannot afford now is second round of infections. If that happens, it can decimate the whole population and it can probably permanent damage economies. And in 1920, the last major pandemic, we killed over a million people across the world. The second peak actually when the virus emerged, that killed more people than the first one. In fact, most African died, during the second wave of infections. So we all have to be vigilant. We all have to be very, very careful. And Gambia and Africa, our best chance is social distancing. That is to cut the chain of infection before it ravages. But once we have this illness, like places like in the Gambia, where the medical facilities are not so great, our best chances of prevention is prevention. And I'm calling on my fellow Gambians to please respect this social distancing regulation or intervention introduced by a government. It is us they are helping. Even though now what COVID-19 also does, if any of our these senior politicians or rich people got sick now, they have to grapple with the medical facility they neglected for so long. That's not good news for them, but that's good news for entire African population, not only for Africa. That African politicians need to invest in the health sector. They cannot let health sector continue to deplete while when they are sick and their family they rush to Europe. That's not fair. It's not good. And this COVID-19 again, it sent them a stark reminder that you know what, you need to build your health facilities because people like or pathogens like me, the COVID-19, I can come and strike anytime. So, Alhamdulillah, that brought us to the end of today's round of this talk show. And I want to thank you all for your time. And please help me share these videos, so that it can reach to a wider audience. Thank you for your time. I'm really grateful.